What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Love Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Wilson, and I'm joined as always by my esteemed co-host, Dexter J. Tucker.
What's going on, fam? How y'all feel?
And this is the podcast where we have unscripted conversations with millennials about relationships and dating. So I hope you guys are having another great start to your week. I appreciate everyone who starts off their Mondays listening to the Love Unscripted podcast. I do enjoy seeing all the screenshots that y'all post of y'all listening to in your car, but please don't get into a wreck trying to record and do all this stuff. Some of y'all are getting creative, and I just don't want nobody to get hurt while they're on their way to work. And the last thing they hear is, "What's up, everybody? It's Love Unscripted podcast." Like, I don't want that to be experience. So please be careful out there. I see you. I appreciate it. Stop. Wait till you get into the parking lot. I should not see the interstate going above the screen. So if you guys missed last week's episode, you missed a good one. We were joined by licensed marriage and family therapist Aaron Snyder, who had a really good and dope conversation with us about self-esteem. We tend to think that because we're adults that our self-esteem doesn't matter, or that we should have our self-esteem all together because we're adults. But as we learn, there are many aspects to self-esteem that as adults we can improve upon. But he also gave us great tools on how to make it more about how we view ourselves rather than worrying so much about what other people are saying about us. So that one is episode 95. Go ahead and check that out. You can pause this one. I won't mind. My feelings won't be hurt. So go ahead and check that one out. So Dexter, it's another week. How are you feeling? How are you doing? How's life?
Life is good. Life is good. I started a new anime series called Black Clover. I started that. It's been preaching to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's really been preaching to me a whole lot about perseverance. And it's good. How about you?
I've been doing pretty good. It's getting hot. I've been sunburnt twice already. It's not looking good. My shoulders are very like tingly. So y'all know I've been running, and so it's starting to get really warm. So I'm like, let me get the shoulders out. Let me get the shoulder. Listen, them shoulders are going back up. Listen, I'll be running in a turtleneck from now on, something, because this heat is no joke. Ladies and gents, please wear sunscreen.
Yes.
Just because we melanated, we can still get sunburnt, and we can still possibly get skin cancer. So don't do like Joe. Yeah, right there.
There's one that I use.
Like what is it? What is it called?
It's called Brickell Element Defense. You can put it on your face and your body.
Okay, see, that's what I need, because this sun is no joke. Like supposed to be getting up like close to 100 this week. So I'm not looking too forward to that, because I'm still running. I'm still jogging, and I hate running inside. So I don't want to like be on the treadmill. I feel weird. I feel self-conscious. It's like, I feel like everybody's looking at me when I'm running on the treadmill.
Yes.
But that's neither here nor there. We're going to keep bringing you guys these really great, unscripted, just conversations about relationships and dating. And guess what, guys? This episode is no different. We have a really great guest who's going to be joining us. Let me go ahead and get them in here. All right. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. So my name is Krystal Alexander. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Tennessee. And I'm also a faith-based therapist, or you can call me a Christian therapist if you like. I work with women who struggle with anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and relationship issues within the Nashville area.
So that's great. I don't like I was telling Aaron last episode, I have a special place in my heart for the MFTs. I don't know what it is. Like, you guys are just so near and dear to my heart. I got love for everybody. Like, we got all different kind of letters, the LPCs, the LCS. Like, I love all of y'all, but it's just something about the marriage and family therapist that just like, you know what, you guys come over here and give me a hug kind of thing.
Family, right? It's a family.
Right. So I definitely appreciate you for being on here. Guys, we're going to have a really great conversation. But first, we want to get to know our guests a little bit better. So, Krystal, what is one of your favorite places to eat in your hometown?
One of my favorite places to eat. So I'm okay. So I'm really simple. Okay. I don't like any really big extravagant things. So my hometown is actually in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm originally from Memphis, and one of the places that I love to eat, it's called Pop's Deli. And it's like right down the street from my house. And I always go there. They have like the best Philly chicken, Philly cheese and chicken. And that's like one of my favorite things. So I usually always go there whenever I go home to visit.
Oh, okay. Now you talking my language. So me and my wife lived in Memphis for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a question. So since you're a Memphian,
Mhm.
which do you rock with, Central or Interstate, as far as barbecue?
Definitely I would go with Interstate Barbecue.
Okay. Okay.
It tastes a lot better to me. It does. So
Everybody,
I'm
and that's
just
the thing. You ask 10 people from Memphis, it'll be split down the middle, 5 and 5. I tend to like Central because I like their barbecue nachos. Like I'm a
Mhm.
really fan of their barbecue, like how they do it up. So yeah. Question number 2.
Mhm.
What is one thing you like to do for self-care?
Oh, so self-care is really near and dear to my heart. I actually love talking about self-care. And one of the things that I actually try to do on a daily basis for self-care is actually walking. That really helps to like bring up my mood. It gives me like the energy that I need throughout the day, and it really like gives me that exercise that I need as well. It's something that's so healthy for you. It's the heart healthy for you. It also helps me with my anxiety too. I've struggled with anxiety before, and so it actually helps to relieve some of that stress and some of that anxiety that I do experience. And so I've made it a routine, a habit for me every day that I get up and I go walking.
Oh, that's great. Listen, they say that you can add 13 years onto your life just by walking 30 minutes a day.
Hmm.
And they said not just, being old years of life, they said active years of life.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear that you have a system for self-care. And I always encourage everybody, find something that works for you. Do
Hmm.
something that speaks to you, that recharges and re-energizes you, so that you can be the best version of yourself. And so
Yeah.
the last question, we are coming out of the pandemic time, I guess, is what we'll say. And a lot of people have been super stuck to either Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. So my question is, what is one show that you have binged since the pandemic has started?
A show that I binged. Oh, um, I don't know if I can think of a show. I watch a lot of movies on Netflix, but I
Okay,
don't
what's a
know if I
movie
can
you,
think.
you liked recently?
Oh, I can think of a show actually. So I just recently watched World's Greatest Vacation Rentals. So that's something that's like I think it's fairly new on Netflix, and I have this desire to kind of like go and travel the world. So I wanted to watch it and see like what does it have to offer. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm about to go get me a passport and do this. I may be a
Yes.
little behind, but I'm ready.
Listen, and that's one show that I'm watching right now. Off the
Mhm.
first couple, having a whole like houseboat like float out into the water, I'm like, oh, that's a different level. I gotta up my charges for these sessions if I'm gonna get out. If I'm gonna get on, that joint was 15,000 a night. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my goodness, people are paying this for real. So I need to change my business model
yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to make this.
Yeah, but I think the great thing about it was that it also had the budget options as well
Yes.
as the luxury options. So I'm just like, okay, this is something that I may be able to do. So yeah, I'm
Definitely.
interested.
Definitely. So thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself, letting us into your world. So
Mhm.
we're going to go ahead and jump into this conversation. Is one I've been wanting to have and one that I've got a request about ever since we had an episode 88 with Jay Barnett. He's also a marriage and family therapist. And we talked about the healing journey for men. And we got a really big positive response on just talking about what it means to heal, what it looks like. And the overwhelming response is, can you do one for women? We heard that when I shared it with my uncle, I shared it with my brother, I shared it with my boyfriend, but can you do one for the women? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the healing journey, the healing process, what it is, what it looks like, to put it out there in the open. Because I think healing has almost become a buzzword. Like everyone says it so often that I think it can get, the meaning of it can get lost in how often it's talked about and how many people have their own different ways of going on these healing journeys and process. So briefly, Krystal, what would you say a healing journey is?
Yeah. So I would say that a healing journey, it really is a process. And for many, I can actually attribute it to what seems to look like a grieving process. Because for so many women, there may be some things that, they have experienced or dealt with in their life, and they have these really strong attachments to these particular things. It could be patterns or behaviors that have been unhealthy. And so it's almost as if it's difficult to let those patterns and those unhealthy behaviors go because of the fact that I actually need to heal and I need to grow from this. And so it really is a loss. And, for instance, like when it comes to the ability to have those unhealthy behaviors, those unhealthy relationships, whatever it may be, you get so familiar. It's something that's so familiar for you. So you have that emotional attachment to it. And it's almost as like, this is something that I care about. This is something that I'm losing, even though I know it's unhealthy. But I do have to go through these stages of healing, which kind of looks like the stages of grief for women.
That's good. I like the term process. Processes don't tend to be really quick fix. Like cooking, like the Thanksgiving turkey, there's a process that you go through to cook it. It's not a microwave dinner where you put it in a microwave, hit 1 minute and 30 seconds, and bing, you have everything ready to go. There's a process and procedure, and there's time and there's steps that need to be taken. And I'm glad you said that, because people tend to want healing to be quick. They want it to be happen in a very twinkling of an eye, so to speak, but it's not like that. There's a steps and processes.
So healing really happens in layers. It happens in layers.
Definitely. So what are some situations or circumstances that may require someone to go on a healing journey?
Yeah. So for a great circumstance would be breaking up, like having a relationship where you've actually lost that relationship. It was a long-term relationship, or it could be, childhood trauma, some things that you've experienced in your childhood. It could have been abuse, emotionally, physically, mental abuse. All of those things require a healing process. And oftentimes, it's something that we don't really want to share, especially when it comes to abuse and those childhood traumas. We sit so much in shame that we don't have the ability to even express in those moments what it is that we've experienced in our lifetime.
And I think it's good that you mentioned the breakup thing, because as Jay mentioned in our episode that we had, it doesn't always have to be a abusive situation that may cause you some type of emotional hurt or harm that requires a healing journey.
Yeah.
Like we talked about how with a lot of young boys, when their father tells them that I'm going to come pick you up and they don't show up, that's an emotional wound.
Absolutely.
And I think for women, there are probably instances similar to that, that are not necessarily abuse situations, or not molestation, but they have just as much deep emotional wounds as these other situations. So Dexter, you got anything you want to jump in?
Yeah, I love Chris. I love what you said about, grieving, the loss that you may have when it comes to being on a healing journey, because it's almost like you have Stockholm Syndrome with the very thing that you're trying to let go of. And that doesn't make you any less of a person because you hold on to that. It was an emotional attachment, and you've held on to it for so long, and now you have to break from it and heal from it, and you have to put that distance between the both of you. And I think that's so profound and so beautiful to think about, because a lot of us, don't realize how much of a grip it has on you until you get in the middle of that journey and you're like, what's wrong with me? What am I dealing with? I think that's very powerful. I really do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Krystal, how is the healing journey for women different from how a man may go on his healing journey?
Yeah. So honestly, I don't think there is such a big difference when it comes to the healing journey. I think when we look at humanity in general, we all experience healing differently. We have those different approaches to how the healing process really goes for us. And for women, what I can say in that healing process is that it may look a little bit more lengthy than a man. We like to take our times, and we like to really go, like, dig deep and go introspectively. For a woman, oftentimes they will internalize a lot of trauma, like even relationships with that you may have been in with a significant other. You're going to internalize a lot of why, like, this happened to me. What was it about me? Was there something that I did? Is there something wrong with me? And so oftentimes we lose a sense of identity. And when we lose that sense of identity, it's kind of like we don't know where to go. We don't know what to do next. And so that healing process can look really lengthy in how we connect with others, in how we show up in the world. So it's really different in how we heal. And as long as we have those healthy connections with other people, it allows us to be able to get through that healing process sufficiently. I don't think there really is a time frame on the healing process for men or for women.
Definitely. And I want to hit on something you said, and I've noticed this too, especially with working with women who are trying to either get over a relationship or after their marriage has failed, in that sense, is this internalizing. Internalizing. What could be a danger if a woman continues to internalize these situations that happened?
Yeah. So if we continue to internalize those situations, we lose ourselves. We have low self-esteem. It can even get to a place of depression, experiencing both anxiety and depression, feeling as if, like, I'm not even sure that I may even want to live anymore. I don't even know if I have value on this earth. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Like, what is my purpose? All of those things are on the line when we start to internalize those things. We lose that sense of who we are. And that's really vital. That's really important when it comes to us to just be able to have the ability to live a healthy life within this world.
And it definitely makes healing difficult,
Absolutely.
especially when you continue to beat yourself up. It's almost like you're in a fight with yourself. And it's hard to progress past certain points if you continue like, man, I got here, but man, it was still my fault. It's like reminding yourself of what happened and making it all your fault when it's not. There's multiple people in a lot of these situations, whether it's your partner, whether it's with family, whether it's friends, there's another side to the story. And sometimes people take it all on themselves. And it just doesn't allow people to heal.
Yeah,
So
you ruminate on those thoughts over and over, and it really gets to a place of the core, which is like, am I good enough?
mm-hmm. And listen, we're systems therapists. It's the cycle. It's
Mm-hmm.
the cycle
Absolutely.
where the event happened, you'll blame yourself, you'll start to get better, then something may trigger a feeling or emotion. Now you're blaming yourself
Mhm.
again, and now you're having to keep going into that. So you're almost coming to that loop, that unhealthy loop of
Mhm.
negative self-talk. And
Absolutely.
and the goal is to try to like get outside of that, because if
Mhm.
you can get outside of that, now you can do something different and you can change the narrative.
Yeah.
You can change the narrative about what happened, and it's not always your fault, but understand things happen and people make decisions that we may not agree with.
Mhm.
And also we have control over what happens next.
Absolutely.
So here's another thing. At times women are put down for being emotional. But how important is it for women to be expressive with their emotions as they're going on their own healing journey?
Mhm. Oh my gosh, that's so important. It's so important. And it's one of the things that I can say for most women, and not all, I can't speak for all women, that is something that actually comes naturally. It's something that we need to really process what's happening in our lives, what are the areas in our lives that we're actually needing the healing. This is where like the growth actually happens for us, is in the ability to be able to express those emotions. And so it's so vital. It's so vital. And I feel like in those moments when we don't have the ability to really express or actually show those emotions, we get to a place where we're stagnant in life. We're not moving, we're not healing, and it's almost as if we're just kind of existing. So
Mhm.
it's very, very vital, very important for us to be able to express and show that, like, I have these emotions, they're here, and I need to get them out.
I would
Right. And
100% agree because, with my wife, for example, like she's gone on a healing journey for herself, from childhood trauma. And one of the biggest things I've learned as an advocate for my spouse and being an actual partner with my spouse is letting her know, hey, whatever you feeling, those are your feelings, and nobody can take that away from you. And so I want you to be able to express how you feel. And I keep reminding her of that, because regardless of whatever it is, if it's as small as not wanting to cook that day, that's fine. Express that, or being aggravated with something, whatever it is, express that, because I always want to be a sounding board for her. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important, when it comes to being on a healing journey and being in a relationship or a marriage, is always trying to be a sounding board for your partner, because I see it firsthand how important it is for women to be able to express how they feel, not to feel like they're being gaslighted, not to feel like they're being that their feelings are being denied because it's not what you feel or it's not from your perspective, but understanding their perspective, so that way you can be an advocate for what they're feeling.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I love that. Yeah.
And here's a sidebar. I don't think society is comfortable with women verbally expressing their emotions.
Mm.
Expressing emotions that are not in the sweet and kind way that is viewed as respectable or palatable. It's crazy to me. So I've done I do restorative justice work as well. So there will be times where I'll have a group of adults where something has happened and we're talking it out. It's almost kind of like group therapy kind of stuff. And I'll have a Black woman who's been wronged, and as she's expressing herself, she gets loud. She's not cursing anybody. She's not calling anybody out of their name, but she's extremely passionate. And I would have people say, "Oh, this isn't what this is supposed to be. They can't talk like this." And I kindly say, I'm sorry you're uncomfortable with how someone else is expressing their emotions. What are you feeling on the inside? Like, I have to turn, I don't want women to be shunned for that natural expression of how their emotions are. And that's something that I see society tends to do a lot. They get labeled as being difficult to work with, trying to wear the pants. Like, they get all these labels. And I think sometimes when society has pushed that on people so much, that can come into people's women's healing process of, I can't express this because of how people may take it. And I think it's important for women to hear that you don't have to always care what other people think about your expression. It's your expression. It's okay. It's more, their problem is more they're uncomfortable than it has to do with you.
Yeah.
They got some unresolved stuff that they need to work through that's making them feel uncomfortable about someone expressing their emotions while they're hearing. And that's for boyfriends too. Like, boyfriends, like, y'all gotta like get on track. Like, if she's expressing herself, she doesn't have to do it in this super sweet, solid. If she want to cuss, let her cuss. I mean, as long as she's not hitting you, like, put like physically, like, there has to be space for it. And I think it's healthy for natural and authentic emotional expression, especially when there's healing that needs to be done. So, Krystal, what can happen for a woman, for a woman's relationships, whether they're romantic or platonic, if she does not go through her own healing journey and process after something like a breakup has occurred?
Yeah. So oftentimes I'll see with my clients that like they begin to lash out in their relationships with other people. So even like with your friendships or family members, because they haven't healed through a breakup, like, I'm going to lash out on these other people. Sometimes I don't even know why I'm doing this. It's just coming out this way, even though I know that like I got all these other issues, but I'm triggered by something that happened or something that you said. And so I'm going to lash out. I'm going to lash out at you. And not to say that it's always, the right thing to do, but when you choose not to go through the healing process, then you begin to hurt other people. So, the saying, hurt people hurt people. And that is what will happen if you choose not to go through the healing process. And not only that, I mean, another, like, something else that could also happen is, like I mentioned before, we go back through those stages of having really low self-esteem and having a lot of depression, symptoms of depressions that you're experiencing because you're not healing. And I think those are some of the biggest things that usually happen if you choose not to heal after a breakup.
I've been on the receiving end of lashing out. Before I met my wife, I remember I was interested in this young lady, and I said young like an old person, but this young lady, and I know, right? And I was interested in. We were talking on the phone and whatnot, and at one point in the conversation, like, she just burst out crying, and I'm just like, wait a minute, what is this? And at that moment, I'm like, okay, let me take off like the guy that's interested in somebody and put on a preacher hat, because I was like, okay, let me be the minister right now. So I'm like, okay, why are you crying? And like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and it was from the past relationship she had been in, and I was like, okay, what happened? And like, it was like the first time like she really verbalized what happened. And I asked her how long ago was the relationship, and it was like maybe like 3 to 6 months ago. And I was like, well, it looks like you haven't really processed what happened. And she was blaming herself, saying it was her fault, and it wasn't her fault. And I was just like, wait a minute, you need to take the time to focus on you, because it happened to you. You're the victim in this case. And I remember telling her, like, you have to take the time to feel what you feel, because it's important to you. And, I took a step back, and I'm like, we don't need to pursue anything, because I want you to be your authentic self, because first I need to be your friend and help you figure this out first before you try to be anything to me. And I think that is so important, that feeling what you feel is important, because in order to move forward, you got to feel it. It's not going to feel good, but you got to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So this leads me to the next question then. So how can a woman know when she's ready to get it back out there and try to pursue love again after she's like, let's say that she actually like, you know what, I'm gonna try to heal, but I don't really know when's the right time to jump out back into the ocean. Like, how can someone know when they're ready to get back out there and try love again?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is one statement that I'll say, and there may be some people that may not like it, but it is what it is. When you can get to a place where you can acknowledge and identify what actually happened in the relationship and what I contributed to, maybe like the fall of the relationship, then you're in a place where you're ready to move forward. And oftentimes we don't really like to look at, okay, well, what did I have? What was my part in it? Because I always say, like, there's not just two people. There's not just one person in a relationship. There's two people. And so you really have to take the time to do a lot of self-reflection. I would encourage even going to therapy if you need the additional help for that. But when you've actually gotten to that place where you can say, like, what did I do to contribute to this? And I think you're in a place where you're ready to move forward. And that's not to say that you won't be triggered either, because you can dip your toe back out there and something happens and you're triggered again. And it's okay to pull back in that moment and say, okay, what just happened in this situation? And how can I move forward from this? So it's really just taking the time to reassess and reflect on your healing journey, on the things that you've learned throughout that journey, and going back out there and trying again.
No, that's really powerful, because I'm trying to come up with some kind of method to explain this, but it's almost like being able to acknowledge that you had something to contribute. It's almost like the 3D effect. Like, so much we look at what they did,
Yes.
or how did they make me feel. It's very one-dimensional. But if you add from the outside and be able to look, if someone was looking from the outside and they saw what I was doing, would they say that I contributed to this as well? I think that's a really important, it's a different level of, I think, functioning and healedness, to be able to look and to be able to really say, man, I did something.
Yeah.
I contributed to it. Now that I acknowledge it and I know what it is, the great thing is I can do something different next time. It's hard to change a pattern that you don't realize is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's reframing, right? Like it's changing your perspective, it's changing your view on how you saw the relationship, or how you saw your life in that moment, and not really pointing the finger, but saying, like, okay, what's the totality? Like, what's the whole picture here?
Man, that's some good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and transition into our last segment of the show, which is Flip the Script. And Flip the Script is the segment of the show where our guests provide a simple tool or strategy for how to address a certain challenge, a certain question, a certain circumstance that we discussed in the episode. So, Krystal, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So someone may be listening to this episode and they're like, you know what? I'm ready to take this healing journey. I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to heal, but I'm not sure if I can do it alone. What is one thing that they can do to be able to get additional support while they go on this healing journey?
Yeah. One thing that I would say would be to make sure that you have an accountability partner. Like, you have someone that can be there to support you, to encourage you, to instill hope within you. And like, that person can be a close friend, a close family member, whoever it may be, to really help remind you, like, what it is that you're doing in this moment. Why are you choosing to heal? What is it that you're healing from? And then them coming back and saying, like, well, how can I be a support to you? What is it that I need to do to be able to to help you through this healing journey. So really having that, like really getting to the nitty gritty and having that person as accountability partner. That's what I would say.
All right, there you guys have it. Krystal, thank you for joining us this week.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Please let everybody know where they can find you on the internet or on social media.
So I am on Instagram at The Safe Counselor, and you can also find me on my website at www.safecounsel.org if you are a resident of Tennessee and interested in therapy. Those are my only two platforms I have.
All right. I'll put all of her information down there in the show notes. Guys, we thank you guys for joining us this week. Don't forget, we got the Flip the Script Wellness Group going on right now. So if you're looking for a community of young adults, millennials who are just trying to go on this journey of love and do it the right way, go ahead and hit us up at ftswellnessgroup.com/community. And that's where you can join us. We meet every week at 8:00 on Sundays, and we also provide evidence-based tools and strategies to help you be better in the dating and relationship space. Also, head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher Podcast. Comment, rate, and subscribe there. If you're in podcast land, please head on over to YouTube and subscribe over there at Love Unscripted HD. And that's where you can see the video for this episode. Also, don't forget, follow Dexter at scholarly_gent. And we will see you guys next week. Yo, we may not have all the answers, but we will have the conversation. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.